Hello and welcome to another video. So today I'm going to be showcasing my Void Arrow Huntress build. So a few things that they've done in the new patch is that you can keep staying at like Torment state. Before, when you got to Torment and then cast a skill afterwards, you would get up to half of your Sincerity stacks. But now you can actually alternate between skills and keep staying at the Torment state, which was pretty much the whole idea, and I'm going over that later in the video. First of all, let's check out the Reaper. The Reaper is the bow of supercharged elemental overload. This one has a very nice bonus, which is imbued skills do 175% increased damage. That's a big increase. And also you gain elemental resistance to your imbued element. But this only goes with the one that is in the elemental overload effect. I'm pretty sure it's called. Yeah. So you cannot like my initial idea was to actually get more elements, like imbue 2 skills and then have an alternating resistance immunity, pretty much. Like you get immune to the elemental overload buff that you have, which is pretty much imbuing an element. But that's not how it works. It only alternates through the different imbues. And imbues, if you may ask, is ice, fire, lightning, light, and then shadow. But sadly, you cannot like equip, like let's say I have Dark Ritual as a damage multiplier. You would think that you get the resistance from this, but you do not get that. In the resistance tab, you see my shadow resistance is only 14, whereas my light resistance, which is my overload, is equipping right now, is at 175, which means you're pretty much immune to anything that is considered light damage. For runes, I went with the Nimble Warrior. It's still like the #1 pick if you're just doing anything related with your primary skill, unless it has a niche mechanic to it. Because you cannot beat 109% increased damage, which is a multiplier, so it's twice as much damage. Plus, you get all the crit damage, you get the crit chance and Central Strike chance, and so on. And for my Ultimatum, I went with the Profound Depths, because, yeah, why not get some defensive stats? I felt like I want a middle of the road character that can actually tank stuff, but also do loads of damage. I feel like that's a great thing to do in Slormancer. Like a feels good character where you don't have to think too much about what you do, but just blast enemies. That feels great. So I'm doing it a bit differently this time, so I'm going with the skills and specialization now. I feel like that's a very important step, and you guys might like that more than going over the gear in the middle of nowhere. So we took the Sharpshooter of the Wild. Sharpshooter of the Wild is what got buffed the most, I feel like. It's actually crazy how good it is now. First of all, we take the movement speed during Assassin's Haste. That's when you just cast it and do the movement. Then you get 40% movement speed. That's great. Next row is this one. Know your enemy. You get 35% projectile damage reduction. That's crazy high of a defensive stat, because you can stack other sources of this to increase it even further. So it's very easy to get up to 75%. And when you add 75%, projectile deals significantly less damage to you. It's crazy. I didn't get 75%. I'm at 55, but that's over half the damage that they do. Like only 45% of their initial damage, and that's great. That feels awesome. Another thing is going to be this one. Whenever you cast Tumble, if you are tormented, you have to be tormented, which you usually are. You get 20% critical strike chance during the Assassin's Haste. That's crazy. That's like 20% is a lot of crit chance. Next thing is pretty, mediocre. So I went with this one, Booby Trap, just because you lay down a trap, and traps are actually a relatively nice defensive mechanic because when enemies walk over it, they get stunned, and that's great. It's even a stun for 3 seconds, which is quite a long time where they cannot do anything to you. Next, another 10% critical strike chance. So from the specialization alone, you get 30%. And that's a lot. But if you want to, you can also take this one with the agility of the wild, so you can get some attack speed. I didn't invest that much attack speed on my character, but I can highly recommend it. Next row, we went with Rapid Shoot with 40% projectile speed. I will say though, you can pick this one. Nope. I just remembered a thing. You cannot deal any damage with your Reaper, or at least increase your ancestral strike damage. I forgot to mention, the Reaper itself has imbued skills have 5% increased damage for each stack of Elemental Fury. And what is Elemental Fury? Every time you do ancestral strike damage, you get 1 stack of Elemental Fury, which means you can stack it up to 175 times. So you can get a lot of increased damage. It's potentially one of the best Reapers in the game just because of that one node. And then the primordial version makes you able to prolong the elemental effect. Like elemental overload lasts for 9 seconds, but you can then like reset its duration of your current imbue because it's on a rotation where it switches between all the elements pretty much at random. So if you can prolong it, you will keep your elemental fury stacks for longer. So if you have like, let's say 50 stacks, you get 250 increased damage for your imbued skill. That is quite a lot of damage and nothing to sneeze at. Okay, continuing with specialization. I'm sorry that I didn't show what the Reaper actually did. Now, how do you say that? Galvanized in Torment makes you able to get 20% increased movement speed while tormented. We are always tormented, so this buff is pretty much permanent. And then for the big gun, which is the Endless Quiver, it is crazy how good this one is because this got buffed indirectly. It's pretty much the same thing as before the patch, but you can always stay at Torment. So usually, if you just had like some stacks of Sincerity, you would only get 2 additional projectiles. But because you can stay at Torment, you get 3 additional on top of the 2 additional. So it's 5 additional, essentially. That's crazy. That's a lot of arrows. Though you might run into some mana problems because both Arrow Shot, Void Shot, Heavy Explosive Projectile have 300% increased mana cost. It doesn't do that much when you get a bit of mana leech on your character and a bit of mana, I will say. Let's go to the main skill. The main skill has some very nice upsides. So first of all, in the first row, we take Concentration of the Void. So this means for twice your fork chance, you get 2%. Like, let's say you have 1% fork chance, you get 2% increased damage. I have currently quite a lot on my character, as you can see right here, 118, and that equals to 236 increased damage. This is crazy good because they buffed fork chance as well on gear. So I mean, you can push this way further, like maybe up to 300, maybe 400% if you are going crazy with it. So that's a lot of damage potentially. Next, when fully charged, Void Arrow casts 5 arrows instead of 3. That means we like already had 3 projectiles on Void Arrow, but we get up to 5 plus the other 5 from Sharpshooter of the Wild. So this is crazy good. Next is going to be Void Arrow applies Wormhole, and Void Arrow deal 25% increased damage to enemies affected by Wormhole. That's nice and all, but the great thing is this one, Legacy of the Void. This one makes you able to pretty much have a chain reaction on those who are affected by Wormhole. So let's say there's one enemy that is affected by Wormhole. You kill that enemy, and then one enemy beside that enemy will get like absorbed into oblivion, like into the void essentially. And that can happen to elites as well, which is insanely good. Like the only thing it cannot happen to is boss enemies, which is obvious. So if there's a like crazy strong elite on high difficulty Wrath level plus something, you can just absorb him with this Legacy of the Void. It's actually crazy. And also it works on shielded enemies for some reason. I'm not sure why. So you can pretty much ignore shielded enemies on this character, which is very awesome. And then the most important note of them all is while tormented, Void Arrow charge instantly. So that's what we are doing. We are just shooting between our skills. And as you can see, I don't have that much attack speed, which is a big mistake on my end. I could have invested so much more into it and actually performed way better. Like I could have spammed it way faster than I did right here. Because attack speed is essentially animation speed, and then you would very easily could like do way more DPS in the long run. So yeah, Void Arrow, very nice, very great. It has inbuilt Pierce, so does Arrow Shot with one of the nodes. But let's see, Arrow Shot, Ferocious Arrow. I took this one because we have 100% rebound and 100% fork. We don't need these two. So we just take this one for mana on kill. We get free Pierce. When you are tormented, Ferocious Arrow, you get 200% increased projectile speed. That's very nice. That does a lot of stuff for us. And then for the next one, Arrow Shot deals 62% increased damage, and the increased damage is equal to your projectile speed. So that's another great one. And then for the last, we just went with the Reactive Arrow, where you can poison an enemy and refresh its duration if you want to. Doesn't really do that much. You could pick this one if you want to. It doesn't really change anything. I mean, maybe the mana cost, that could probably help you. Yeah, probably take this one. Multiplicative Arrow, that's probably way better overall. Okay, next. Gear. Let's go over the helmet first. So what you're looking for is just life, ancestral strike chance, crit chance, rebound, fork chance, damage to elites, all the good stuff. I went with the life multiplier. That's just best in slot on most characters. I feel like it's so powerful. Of course, there's maybe something that is better, but on this character, I feel like it's just the best overall. I'm just gonna go quickly over the stuff I have. I could min-max it way further, but I want to do another character on Huntress, so the body armor is actually great because you can make your tumble cast twice in a row. And then the build is also a great one with the legendary effect. It makes you able to take pretty much 16% less damage from hits as long as you do ancestral strike damage recently. So yeah. Oh, another thing. Tenacity is great because it makes you able to be immune to crowd control effects. And that is like stuns, silence, maybe not silence actually. That's a debuff. I'm actually not sure about that one. But stun, freeze, and so on. Everything that stun locks you, you are pretty much immune. Like knockback as well. You are immune to that if you get up to 100%. I'm not sure if I'm actually at 100. I'm only at 71. I can highly recommend going for 100 if you can. This one makes you able to get a +1 rank in Ancestral Gift, which is passives in the Ancestral Tree. I'm gonna go over that in a second. I went with the Life Leech one, but you could also choose the one with cooldown. I will say on braces, there's the legendary called Echoes of Villainous. That is probably better. I mean, I have nothing, so you can see the damage is kind of crazy compared to what my gear is currently. But Echoes of Villainous makes your critical strikes on enemy hit deal damage later. So you can see after 2 seconds, Echoes of Villainous triggers deals skill damage equal to 12% of the initial damage and has a 16% chance to reapply. I mean, that doesn't really matter, but it can stack up quite high if you are against enemies that are tougher than you expected. I don't think you will. It pretty much one-shots everything currently at my level. So, and then the shoulder, you can pick whatever you want except for the one that grants additional projectiles because it doesn't grant you that unless you shoot one projectile. So I just went with this one because I do want to do a Wandering Arrow build in the near future. I'm not sure when, but I do want to do that. And of course, all the extra stats you can add, like the affinity, mastery, and the attributes, you can see it on here. This is pretty much what you want. Hagen, Void Arrow, and Savagery. So let's go over the attributes now that we're talking about those. I haven't really min-maxed it that much. I don't think dexterity is that necessary, but you could do it if you want to, because it does grant you some animation speed for your character, but having this little amount into it is not going to be that impactful. I feel like dexterity is great when you get up to the projectile speed, and I can actually highly recommend that if you want to sacrifice some either savagery or some defense, but I went with defense for this matter. So let's go over Fury. That's just for 10% crit chance. We went into Seal just to get some intentional strike chance. Determination for some defense, mana regen, but most importantly, it's for the 23% increased life. That's very great. That's just more life and sustain. And the most important one is probably just going to be Savagery, just because it's raw damage and you get some Reaver damage multiply, you get crit, you get armor penetration, you get a lot of great things. So that's what I went with. Ancestral Tree, we went with the Air Conditioner, raw boost, exceptional accuracy, Elemental Sorcerer for traveling. Lethal Force for a bunch of crit chance, critical damage, and artillery strike chance. It's very powerful. And then, last but not least, this one, Playful Weapons, makes you able to get 11% fork, 22 rebound, 11% damage to elites, and 11% cooldown. This node is busted, dude. It's great. So yeah. And then the last one is going to be Pain Reaver. And then the unrestricted one is going to be obviously Dark Ritual for the massive 50% damage increase. I think that's about it. That's going to be my stats right here. Let me take this off so it's more readable. So I'm just going to go over the stats so you can get an idea of what I've done. I will say though that elite damage, damage to elites, I mean, could be way higher. It's only 43% right now. It's actually kind of pathetic. But it's not necessary. We're still destroying everything. So that's completely up to you. And then tab 3, as you can see here. So yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more Slormancer content and build guides. Usually build guides, that's what I usually do. Maybe I show something insane that happened in the game, just for fun, and just to make you aware of what can happen in this game. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.